Okaeri! Welcome back to my channel, Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing my 5-star prediction tag. Now this tag is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to be picking the books from my TBR that I have on Goodreads that I imagine will be 5 stars. Now on my TBR right now, I have 261 books. Wishful thinking. And from those 261 books, I think that 22 of them will be 5 stars. You may be wondering, then why do you have the other books on there? Because I imagine some will surprise me. I also imagine some of these books on here will disappoint me and not be as good as I imagine that they will be. But since I have 22 books to go through here, I'm going to do a part 1 and a part 2. So today is going to be part 1, and I'm going to go through 11 of those 22 books. It should come as no surprise to anyone that almost every single book on this list is fantasy. If you can see the shelf behind me, if you've watched any of my other videos, I read mostly fantasy, although I do throw some other genres in there from time to time. Fantasy is the one that I reach for the most. So don't be shocked when almost all of these, pretty much all of these, are some form of fantasy. The first book I'm going to mention is Shortfall by Robert Jackson Bennett. If you've watched my channel, again, you've heard me talk about this. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It comes out this month in April, and I will definitely be adding it to my TBR if it arrives to me in Japan in time. If not, I'm going to be reading it in May as soon as it comes. Shortfall is the second book that follows Foundry Side, and this is about a thief who has the power to touch objects and know where those objects have been or the experiences that they've had. And that makes her very good at her job of being a thief. The world she's in has this magic called scriving, where you can write in a special language on an object to convince it to do something it wouldn't normally do, or that it is something that it actually isn't. Words. For example, I gave this example in a previous video, but you can tell a wheel to keep spinning without being pulled by anything, by convincing it that it's going down a hill. So in this world, her power is very useful and matches the setting very well. And this was so good. It's one of the first books that made me think that I might be interested in steampunk fantasy. And I cannot wait for the second book to come out because the end of this one killed me. The next book is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, and it is the 4th book in his Stormlight Archive series. This is book number 3, Oathbringer. And as you can see, they're massive tomes, but I'm going to be dropping everything that I'm reading in order to pick that book up when it comes out. I believe it's being released in November, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. This is a story that has many different characters and a lot of dynamics going on, but each book follows a different character. And in the first book, we follow a character named Kaladin, and we are introduced to him when he is a slave in this world. And it's all about his journey, and the journey of many other characters, but from that starting point. This world is very unique in that it's plagued by huge storms that just destroy everything in their path when they come through. And the entire world is established around that fact. So the world building in here is phenomenal. Anyone who's read Sanderson knows that his capabilities with world building are great, and this is his crowning achievement of that skill. So I can't wait to read number 4, Rhythm of War, and I've heard rumors that the character that we may be seeing the perspective from could be Navani, possibly, and I would love that. The third book is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I don't have this book, and this is the first in the series, but I have heard nothing but amazing things about this series from people that I respect and that have similar tastes to me on BookTube, so this is really high on my list. And basically, all I know about these books is it's a assassin school for nuns, and that's all I needed to hear. So definitely on my 5-star prediction. Next is Steel Crow Saga by Paul Kruger. This is a recent one that I've added to this list because I've seen it recommended by quite a few people, again, that I trust and respect on BookTube, and everyone has kind of pitched this as Pokemon, but fantasy, like adult fantasy, and that I am so on board with that concept. And I know it's got like animal companions, and I haven't read an animal companion book for I can't even remember how long. So I really would like to give this a shot. It has a lot of hallmarks of something that I think I would really enjoy. Next, Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This one has been raved about by, again, people on BookTube that I really respect, and it's supposed to be a kind of grim, dark, gritty dragon fantasy, and I have been in the mood for dragon fantasy so much. I don't know why, but I haven't scratched that itch yet, so I would really like to read this book. If possible, I'd like to add it to my OWLS TBR as like a certificate on top of my Hogwarts professor career. But we'll see if I have time, because I have a lot of thick books that I'm reading this month for that readathon. So, but I definitely want to read it soon. I'm pretty sure that I can get it from my library, so yay! This next one I was introduced to by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and it's The Tiger's Daughter by K. Arsenal Rivera. I butchered that. Sam described it as 2 lesbian warriors trying to like save their kingdom. Again, that's all I need to know. This next one is one of the only non-fantasy ones on this list, and that is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. Now, when I do read contemporary, I like to read hard-hitting contemporary that really, gets at your heart. And feminism is one of those things that really always grabs my attention within that hard-hitting contemporary genre. And I've heard that this is one of the best books with those themes in it. And it also has gray characters. And that just sounds like everything that I love in one book. And a lot of people have given this glowing reviews. So I would predict that it would be 5 stars for me. The Fifth Season by N.k.Jemisin. I think if you're anywhere on Fantasy BookTube, you've heard about this book, this series, but n.k.Jemisin has been on my to-be-read list for way too long now, and I just need to get my butt in gear and read it because I've heard nothing except phenomenal things. I've also heard that she's very skilled at tackling socioeconomic status or other social issues that are in our real world through her books. And like I said, with The Female of the Species, I love that hard-hitting analyzing? And like I said, with The Female of the Species, I love that hard-hitting, kind of reflective aspect of fantasy or contemporary. So I think that I would really enjoy that as well in her books. Next is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. Now this one I've seen reviewed quite well by people, but I'm not gonna lie. The cover and the synopsis themselves just really pulled me in. And if it's as good as it has the potential to be, I could see it being 5 stars for me. So all I know about this is that it's a girl who's like a world traveler, and it's something about her adventures as she hops from world to world. And I love traveling stories ever since, Lord of the Rings. When I read those books, one of my favorite aspects of it is them traveling from place to place. So I love that part of books, so I have a feeling that this one would be great for me. I don't have any other reason. I mean, look at this cover. How can that not be 5 stars? Next is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. If you've watched my channel, you know that I love Nevernight by J. Kristoff. It's one of my favorite series of all time, but it's the only thing I've read by J. Kristoff. And he's releasing an urban fantasy called, I believe it's urban fantasy, called Empire of the Vampire. And the release got pushed back, I believe, till 2021, which makes me sad. But I have a feeling I'm just gonna love anything he writes in the adult fantasy genre. So I'm just assuming that's gonna be 5 stars for me. The last book for part 1 is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I mean, how can this not be 5 stars? Look at that. Gorgeous cover aside, though. I did start, you can see a couple tabs in the beginning here, I did start this behemoth of a book last month, but I ended up putting it down because I needed something a bit faster, fast-paced at the time, and I didn't want this book to suffer because of the reading mood that I was in. But what I did read, I've thoroughly enjoyed so far, and I can't wait to see more of these dragons. As I said, I'm in the mood for dragon fantasy, so I'm not going to put this down for long. I think I'm going to be picking it up again soon. But from what I have read, I can imagine this being 5 stars. That concludes part 1 of my 5-star predictions videos. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below. Tell me which ones I should read first, which ones I should get my hands on yesterday, and if there's some of them that aren't as good as I seem to think they will be. I'd love to have those conversations down below, so don't forget to comment and subscribe. And if you want to see some more of my content, there'll be a video over here for you to click. I think it'll be this side. We'll see. I'll be doing part 2 soon, so look forward to that. We'll do 11 more books that I think will be 5 stars. But until then, I'm gonna head out. Done.